All right. We want to thank everyone for coming this morning. Appreciate your time. I am Senate Republican Leader John Curran. I'm here with several of my colleagues from the Senate Republican Caucus. And we are here specifically on the Invest in Kids Scholarship Program and the fact that right now, in the last days of this year's session, is the last opportunity to save this program, and the Illinois legislature needs to act. And we're calling on the governor and the leaders of both the Senate and the House to actually act, put this bill on the board for a vote. I want to be very clear. The Senate Republicans, we believe that the program should be made permanent and actually be expanded to meet the needs of the existing waiting list. But we recognize that compromise is a part of the legislative process, and we are in full support of the compromise proposal that was filed the first week of veto in the House that the advocates have put together that actually continues the program. It does shrink it, but it continues it, and we support that compromise. We support the movement to continue this program going forward for these low-income children. We cannot ignore the hundreds of children that have come to the Capitol and their families that have talked about the importance of this program, talked about what it has meant to them in their lives, getting in that preferred educational setting. It is abhorrent that there are leaders in the legislature that are ignoring the pleas of these children and these families, that are trying to save their educational opportunity, their preferred setting that they're excelling in educationally. We have to listen to these children and the parents that have been here and afford this choice to these low-income families. This is the same choice I'm afforded and many of my colleagues are afforded. While I chose to send my children to public school, I have that choice. These low-income families have an economic barrier to making the same choice I enjoy. And we need to continue to empower these families to make the choice for the educational setting for their kids. They know best where their children are going to excel educationally. Each family has a personal reason for making this choice, whether it is violence around a school, whether it's bullying within a school, whether it is a low-performing school, or if it's even a situation where they need additional programs that are not offered at the school in their neighborhood. They have these personal reasons for making that choice and where their kids are going to best excel educationally. Governor Pritzker, unfortunately, today is certainly sending a very loud and clear message that these low-income children are not a priority. Where is the governor on this topic? Where is he today? He's in Florida. He's not. This is the final days of this session, an opportunity to save this, and the governor is absent in another state talking about federal issues that are not pertinent to Illinoisans. We have issues here in this Capitol that need to be resolved these last several days of session, and the governor chooses to be elsewhere. In 2 days, we're going to be done. And we either leave here with our heads held high because we have acted and saved opportunity for these low-income students, or we return to our districts and really in a cloud of failure, because we will be failing thousands and thousands of low-income families throughout this state and ending their educational opportunity in their current schools. The majority of Illinoisans support this program. We saw recently labor leaders have come out in support of this program and the opportunity it affords in the vocational setting. We need to continue to grow and pursue these opportunities for low-income families. It is really about lifting kids out of their current situation. When the governor came out this week and decided not to be here, he has essentially said, leave something on my desk, pass whatever. When I get back from Florida, I'll take a look at it. That is not leadership. What we are calling on is for leadership on this issue, both from the legislative leaders as well as the governor. It is time for the governor to lead on this issue, come back to Illinois, and help bring this program, continue this program for these low-income kids. It is time to do what's right. We are here to call on our colleagues in the Democratic side of the aisle to put this bill on the board. It's time for this to be called for a vote. We want this voted on this week. With that, I wanted to open this up for questions.
Well, I'm gonna call you on it because the governor said, he didn't say look at it, he said he'd sign it. Put it on my desk and I'll sign it. So I think it's a little disingenuous to say, oh, the governor's in Florida, he doesn't care. He said, put it on my desk and I'll sign it.
We are here to act to extend this program. Where's the governor? He needs to be leading on this. It is members of his party on his side of the aisle that are not putting this bill up for a vote. The governor needs to interject himself into this.
I wanted to ask one other thing. You mentioned the kids a couple of times, and I mean, frankly, any hemp person can see that Slim's packing his bags on this one. You guys are gonna leave with nothing. At least
I'm
I
sorry.
read on it. I said you guys are gonna leave with nothing.
No, before that, I didn't.
Slim's packing his bags. The chances of this passing are slim and none. And Slim's packing his bags. Slim's about to leave town and you're winding up with none. Presuming that's correct, to what extent are these kids being used?
We are standing here united, fighting to continue this program. These kids deserve not only the full effort of the Senate Republican caucus, they deserve the full effort of each and every legislator here in the Capitol. There are children on these scholarships in each legislator's district. It is time to represent the people of your district, not the ideology of your party. It is time to put this on the board for a vote.
So the kids are not being used. Kids are not being used?
Absolutely not. The kids are down here voicing their support, asking for our help. It is an outstanding display of advocacy on behalf of the kids and the parents who rely on this program.
Leader, there's obviously broad support for this program on the Republican side. I think there's a small group in the House side that doesn't favor this proposal, but there's broad support for Republicans. There's division among Democrats, obviously, with this proposal. Obviously, though, that there are some Democrats who do want this. So has there been any kind of negotiations, any kind of outreach from Republicans to any Democrats in the General Assembly for this?
Yes, and this was a main topic in the spring on the budget. This is what we were trying to negotiate to have included in the budget process. We have time and again prioritized this program with our Democratic colleagues to try to pull them along. If this goes up on the board, I firmly believe there are enough votes in both chambers for it to pass. To put the Republicans to the side and say it's got to have a majority of Democrats, you know, that's not democracy. We're all elected. We all represent our districts. There's a majority in the House. There's a majority in the Senate that supports this bill. Put it on the board.
You have 19 Republicans, so you need, at least, 11?
Super.
Yeah. Oh, right. Like, just speaking for the Senate side, hypothetically, how much support have you heard on the Democratic side?
You know, I can't speak to specificities. Let's put it on the board. I believe the support will be there.
Let's stipulate it's a great program that's helping a lot of kids. What's stopping anyone from making a donation? I mean, anyone in this room, if we all kick in $100, that would help. And I don't get the tax break, but virtue is its own reward. What's stopping us from helping kids by making a donation?
The advocates from the program have been on this all session, saying that part of the program is necessary for this program to continue. The law sunsets, and no donor can donate to this program after December 31st if this is not extended.
If I could give to like the SHG Foundation or the St. Patrick's School Foundation,
I would certainly, and I would encourage that.
there are ways to help.
I would.
And, if you're really altruistic and really care, I mean, I would think that you could do it without the tax break, certainly without a 90 or 75% tax break.
That is not a reason for us to not act.
Does it have to go 5 years? Can you do 1 year, 2 years? Actually, I mean, to at least be able to see whether the program's working, we haven't even had an evaluation, as you know.
Well,
there won't be one until February.
And let's talk about that for a second. Why do we not know Why do we not have an evaluation? The law is clear that there is to be a yearly assessment done by the governor's administration on this program. The governor's administration has failed year in and year out since 2018 to do that assessment. They're not releasing anything, and they're delaying the release this year till after the program expires. Could you be more disingenuous? And this is coupled on top of the failures in IDES with the massive amount of fraud, IEMA and an administrative assistant making $40,000 to $60,000 a month with no oversight, DCFS. You want to talk about failing kids? The black eye of Illinois government is DCFS and its continual failure to come into constitutional compliance with the consent decree. Why we cannot provide constitutional floor to children most vulnerable in this state is just an abject failure of this administration. IDFPR, we want to be fair. We have seen recent signs of improvement, but the failures on licensing in a timely manner, putting professionals, delaying their employment and putting their jobs at risk, another failure. State Police Merit Board, we just saw this week where Jenny Thornley pled guilty to fraud. When the whistleblower stepped forward, the executive director, what was the governor's response? See ya. We no longer want you. That whistleblower uncovered this fraud against the state, and he was removed from his office because of that. Another gross failure. And let's talk about copays. The governor's office has continued to fail to put copays into place to restrain the cost on the free health care for undocumented citizens. So it is department by department by department under the governor's control, including ISB, that has not done this assessment. If it was me, I'd be here. I'd be laser focused on Illinois. I wouldn't be thinking big about America. I wouldn't be in Florida. I'd be in Illinois, and I'd be getting the job done. And until the job's done, stay focused on Illinois.
Is that an announcement for governor?
No.
All right. You made a big case of erasing Governor Pritzker. Who do the Republicans have in the next election who's going to be better than Senator Beaver?
That is so far off. I just no comment on that, other than it won't be me.
According to the statute, the first tests were supposed to be done in the 2019-2020 school year.
Okay.
There was a pandemic. They didn't do the test then. The next year, the participation rate, this is what ISB is telling us, the participation rate was so low in 2021 that the numbers weren't reliable. So all they've got is 2022 and 2023 to work with. Are you saying that this is really the fault of ISB?
Yes. Yeah.
Pandemic is the fault of ISB?
Did they come to the legislature and ask to have the law amended to give them relief from doing the yearly assessment? The answer is no. That is not up to a department to choose to ignore the law.
Senator Resin, we have heard in the past few hours here, past day, that overriding the nuclear veto might be on the table. What's the update on that negotiation? Do you have a commitment that this could get a vote in the Senate?
Well, I would say in the last several hours that there is legislation that's being reviewed as a result of negotiations with Senate President Don Harmon and his team and us, and I think that we'll see a bill in the Senate to be voted on here this week.
A bill or an override? Is it?
It will be a new bill with the agreed-upon language by all parties, and we feel that it is the language that addresses the governor's veto concerns.
Has the governor's staff been involved in those discussions?
The governor's staff has been involved in the discussions, it's my understanding, and we're hopeful that we're close to having some decision by all parties when the bill is called.
You had filed new legislation a few weeks ago. Would it be similar, akin to that language?
Yeah, it would be similar to that language. It addresses the concerns to make sure that we are very specific and very intentional with our definition of what new nuclear is. And there was a request by the governor for oversight at the state level. Despite having federal oversight, the most stringent federal oversight of any department, there is state oversight as well, and it would be through IEMA.
That oversight leads nuclear to have a very long runway to actually getting up and running. Why get this done in the second week of veto session, last 3 days here, rather than in the spring, allow for more lengthy discussion on this?
Well, I mean, we have been having a lengthy discussion on this topic. We've worked on this bill along with my colleague, Representative Lanchadnock, in the House for well over a year to educate my colleagues, to address any concerns that they may have. We brought in experts, the experts in this space across the country to answer any questions in the Senate and in the House. So we've had a very long discussion about nuclear, but it takes, in order to go through the process to receive a permit to build out new nuclear, that process takes 6 to 8 years at the federal government, at the NRC. So it is a long process. All we're trying to do is lift the moratorium to say that Illinois is in fact looking at this new advanced nuclear technology as part of its future energy portfolio. Nuclear, as we know, runs 24/7, 365 days a week, rain or shine. Nuclear is the clean energy and affordable energy to power America's future.
Modular units that you propose would still take the same permitting period?
Correct. The new nuclears it would take approximately 6 to 8 years to go through the permit process. The first project was awarded a permit. It's on the West Coast by a company called NuScale. And there are 20 other companies in the process of going through the permit process at the federal level, but it's a very lengthy process. And as everyone in this room knows, we have a reliability problem, especially in southern Illinois. So nuclear is one of the potential answers to help with reliability, resiliency, but it's also cost effective for the ratepayers.
So are you talking about adding nuclear as base load capacity in southern Illinois as opposed, I thought these were modular things that were just supposed to run an auto factory or.
Well, I would call that for the auto factory, for the manufacturing, for to be built on a shuttered coal plant. They are baseload. They do run 24/7, 365 days a year. However, they're on a much smaller scale, say 300 megawatts. They're not the large nuclear plants that you see that have been built 30 years ago in our state.
You want them feeding into the entire public grid as opposed to just one?
What is really good about this technology is it's very versatile. You can literally drop the advanced nuclears on a site of a heavy energy user manufacturer. If you talk to the manufacturers, they need high intensity power, and that's what nuclear provides, the advanced nuclears. So it's an answer to a problem that we have not only in southern Illinois but across the entire state with reliabilities in certain areas of the state.
Thanks so much, everybody. Any follow-ups, I'm happy to get for you. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
John,
Thanks, you too.
I was going to say back on the ISB and the lack of evaluation, the parents that have been coming to this Capitol are the best evaluators. Have you ever seen such a outpouring from spring session to veto session of schools and the parents leading the charge on that? They see the absolute success and where the public school that they were in failed them. So, I mean, to me, we've already seen success and heard from these families how succeeding it's been. So, to me, that's the best evaluator, your parents.
Thank you.